ISBL Talking Head session. Today, we are launching a new program of live streamed events, obviously with the ISBL Chief Exec, Stephen Morales, but he's inviting on some esteemed guests to talk about some real topical things that are going on in the education sector at the moment for those people who are leading school business. My name's Ryan Green. I'm going to be co-host with Stephen, and I'll be kind of running these events, but we're really looking forward to actually having guests on board and inviting sector representatives, school business professionals, other people that are operating in the school business kind of arena to come and hear their thoughts and share some of their experiences and feedback about what's going on and what's available to school business professionals. So today's session, as I mentioned, I'll be joined with ISBL CEO Stephen Morales and ISBL member Karen Bonser, who's an education business consultant and a regional group leader for ABLE. We'll be discussing the introduction of the ISBL's trust offer, the merits of the membership, and the role the professional development plays, and how ISBL is actually supporting trusts to grow and develop by tackling challenges that they face in 2023 and beyond. So if you've never been to a Crowdcast event before, it's a great opportunity for you to learn a bit more. We've got a chat facility over there. If you do have any questions, there's a little speech bubble with a Q in there. You can ask a question. We'll save questions for the Q&A section at the end. If you see a question that you like to know the answer for, you can upvote those questions. And what that means is if we get a lot of questions in today, questions with the most votes will go to the top. We'll focus on those, but we'll try and get responses to everything that's answered from today's session in some follow-up. So let's introduce Karen Bonser. Karen, how are you doing this morning?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you. Are you right?
Yeah, I'm doing all right, actually. I'm doing all right. Yeah, I mean, believe it or not, I'm coming from an office in sunny Swindon today, considering my hometown's like Newcastle, it's colder here than it is up north, which is crazy.
It's not so sunny in Nottingham, unfortunately, but it's warmer. That's a bonus.
Brilliant. So Karen has, with more than 3 decades of business experience in the commercial, charity and education sector, Karen has a solid reputation as a competent, responsive and passionate expert in the field of business management and professional development. Karen was an executive leader for a large multi-academy trust in Nottinghamshire and is passionate about supporting further developing school business leaders and their teams working in wider educational arenas. Karen is also the director and one of the founding members of ABLE, which is a regional school business group based in the East Midlands for up to 200 members. Outside of the educational field, Karen is also a carer for her husband, Mick, who at the age of 51 was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. He's now 56 and wanting to help and support others. Her business and charity management experience now provides valuable skills in her role as a registered charity manager for Vicky McClure's. Karen, you are more than qualified to come and talk today to our audience, which is why we made you one of our first. And I know you've got your regional event.
Very nice. Yeah,
we've got your regional event tomorrow, haven't we?
I've known Stephen a long time. He knows I can talk for Britain as well.
Brilliant. So thank you very much for taking some time out of your day. Stephen, if I can come to you, please, obviously as Chief Exec, how are things going with ISBL in 2023?
I think like everybody else, busy and trying to make sense of it all. We have a party in power that have lost their way a little bit and don't have quite the political capital that they might have done probably pre-pandemic. There was some bold ambition set out in a white paper and a subsequent school bill that is now dead. The ambition in terms of some of the main elements of the white paper, I believe, are still in play, but there are no legislative levers for government to use now. So they've got to appeal to the goodwill of the sector, and there isn't a great deal of goodwill out there at the moment with everything that's going on with the cost pressures, the energy crisis, the unfunded pay awards, and indeed, quite rightly, the workforce demanding a better deal. And we, as an institute, we're trying to navigate our way through all of that. But we're always focused on, in the end, is no matter what the backdrop, whatever the political environment we find ourselves in, we want to make sure that we are providing support and help to SBP colleagues in principally navigating their way through their own career journey and positioning them for whatever comes next. So that's where we are, and like every other sector body, we do that with a challenging backdrop.
Yeah, and I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I think just kind of hear it speaking from others in the sector, I know the white paper was a bit of a mandate to, grow. But there still seems that, I still feel that when I'm speaking to other school business professionals, other chief execs from trusts, that they've still continued that thought pattern, and they're maybe, they're not taking their foot off the brakes. They know there's a lot of other stuff in the white paper that was either a shame it didn't go ahead or people are relieved, but there is still that kind of appetite to grow. And I think I saw some statistics the other day saying, the average school for a multi-academy trust in like 2017 or 2016 was like 1 or 2 schools, and now it's 6 to 7, recently. I think some of the statistics have come back.
Yeah, no, I think that's right, Ryan. And there are a number of reasons for that. So irrespective of whether there are whether there's a directive coming from government or even Secretary of State powers that can force schools into trusts, I think given the pressure that particularly local authorities are under and schools themselves, that finding a home with a group of schools feels like a safe haven for some, not for all, but for some, it feels like the obvious next step to ensure that they can weather both the financial storm, but also that they have the resilience to tackle whatever unexpected challenge comes their way. And COVID was a point in case. I think there was good evidence to suggest that schools working collaboratively were better able to deal with the massive turbulence that was caused by the pandemic. Now, next time it might not be a pandemic, it might be something else, but nevertheless, there is, I think, pretty good evidence, and we'll talk a little bit about this later. But and whilst what we've launched is an offer, a trust offer, what we really mean by that is groups of schools operating as a family, and how we support groups of schools. Now, whether that's a multi-academy trust or a federation, or even a structure within one of the diocesan schools, we're comfortable with all of those, and the idea is we provide support to groups of schools, not just individual schools, as well as the individuals who work within them. So yeah, in summary, Ryan, I think you're right, that irrespective of where the white paper is now, we are still seeing momentum towards groups of schools coming together.
Okay.
And leaders planning for that.
Right. So you referred to it earlier, and obviously today this is what we're talking about, the topic. And Karen, I'll come over to you, but Stephen, if I can, just talk me through the thinking behind the ISBL trust offer. Why it's come about. What are the benefits for all today's audience? If you want to check it out, you can go to the ISBL website, or there's a link at the bottom of the session here, which you can refer to afterwards. But Stephen, if you can just give us a summary really of about what it is and why you kind of brought it around.
Yeah, no, thank you, Ryan. So there's number of drivers, and I guess the first driver is all the things I set out just a moment ago. Schools, and in particular for us school business professionals, thinking about what next for their institution, what next for them as professionals, where do they fit into the evolving system, and what does the future look like for them and for their trusts. And the two things kind of go hand in glove. So we were increasingly having conversations across the sector with school leaders and governors and trustees, chairs of trusts, CEOs, head teachers, school business professionals, and the conversation kept coming back to the same place, and that was what should we be planning for? So what should, in terms of horizon scanning, what should we be thinking about? So that's either planning for conversion or planning for growth. So a small trust moving to from 2 to 3 to 5 to 7? What does that journey look like? How quickly do we go? What are the considerations? How do we seek out suitable bedfellows, if you like? How do we create that chemistry across teams? A lot of the conversation was being had around developing central teams, and at what pace do you develop? When do you bring in those specialist roles? So trusts of a certain size now, it's not uncommon to see not only a finance director, but a chief technical officer, head of procurement, head of estates. That head of estates may or may not have responsibility for wider infrastructure, and so there's there's a tipping point at which it makes sense to grow your central team, and there is a point at which you say, actually, we're going to hold off. We're going to hold off until we've got to a certain number of schools, and getting that right is important, because you could find yourself in a situation where you're not enjoying economies of scale. You're actually you're finding yourself facing diseconomies. So that conversation is important, and the timing of that is really important. And increasingly, we found school leaders coming to us saying, there isn't a natural reference point for us in terms of how we plan that. So there are lots of organisations supporting sort of generic leadership, and there's lots of expertise in pedagogical leadership, but a lot less in organisational design and how you scale up, if you like, and you scale up at a pace that's appropriate. Add to that, integrating technology, synthesizing, if you like, your current provision. There's lots of duplication. I see trusts all the time that have got 5 or 6 finance systems running simultaneously, and they pushing all that data into the center, and there's a huge job to do to consolidate. It's how do you make sure that effort isn't wasted, and the systems are providing coherent and consistent information. Again, schools need support with that. And then finally, just in terms of our core function, which is about professional development and improvement, trusts are also asking the question about how do we develop a talent pipeline? How do we develop succession? How do we retain staff? How do we pitch our salaries so that there is enough of an incentive, but it's a sustainable operating model? And then, of course, recruitment. And recruitment is a massive challenge for schools, for school leaders. We know, because we've done our own surveys, and we partnered with Hayes on a recent recruitment and retention survey. And what we can see in the system is high demand for particularly highly qualified finance professionals, and a lack of supply, and particularly a lack of supply for those that are qualified, those with professional qualifications or with level 6 qualifications and above. So again, that's an area we really want to help trusts with, and we want to do some demystifying as well. This idea that you can only be a CFO if you're a qualified accountant is a flawed concept.
If I can just press you on that, so
Sure.
is that what you get as part of the ISBL Trust offer? Is it that kind of insight, those resources, the experience, the access to the discussion as well? Is it, and I suppose because I'm kind of quite so I can understand the benefits of it all, but like what's included in it, and how does it kind of to be honest, how does it differ from the standard ISBL membership?
Yeah.
Because if I'm a school business professional, and being a big believer in the institute for a long time, we're supporting it, and then I'm kind of like, well, what's the difference? Like, how am I one of both? Do I get my is it an add-on? Like, how does it work?
Yeah, no. So a couple of things. Firstly, the gateway to this offer is through an individual within the trust that's a fully paid up member
Okay.
or fellow. So that's the gateway to the offer. And then with what we believe is a very modest competitive top up, you can invite the whole of the trust to participate in ISBL activity. Now, it's not quite the full package of services, but those that want to can obviously move up through the membership tiers if they so desire. But what it really gives colleagues within trusts is somewhere to go to answer these important questions. And you might quite rightly say, Ryan, well, you on your own, Stephen, you can't answer questions of 8,000, 9,000 multi-academy trusts. Quite right, and neither can the very modest team that we've got at HQ. But we're surrounded by some really talented practitioners who have walked the walk. It's a well-trodden path. They've gone through this. They understand it. They've felt the growing pains. Karen will be testimony to that, because she's one of those that have done exactly that. And we're very privileged as well to be to have a close association with subject matter experts, people who are sector leaders in education, legal HR, colleagues that are absolutely at the cutting edge of the sustainability agenda, colleagues like yourself, Ryan, that are experts in communications and PR. So it's setting out those important things, the things that matter and that people are talking to us about, and saying, come to us and we will connect you with someone who has the answer. So it's not us saying you call the ISBL and we're going to straight away give you the answer. And anyway, there's so much complexity and so much nuance, so that would be unrealistic. But what we are saying is, if you contact us, we will very quickly connect you with someone who can absolutely help. Okay. And we're surrounded by, we've got a panel of 22 what we're calling expert consultants. If you go onto our website, you'll see there are 10 subject matter experts, and we have a group of trusted associates who feed us information across finance, assurance, estates, HR on a weekly basis. So it's a lot of this is about connecting people, really, and connecting people to the right source. And this is one of the dangers, isn't it? It's a very saturated market, the education space. Post-COVID, everybody has the answer to everything. Well, they do. And so what we're trying to do as an institute is make sure that the information that you get is reliable and it's validated. So we don't end up with truisms out there and ideas about things that maybe the advice is a little bit dubious. We if you like, are underwriting solid, reliable advice through this whole offer.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's fair enough. So in summary, you've got to be an ISBL member anyway to get access to this. But the benefit is you can then invite the trust, and your trust can have that. And actually, the impact of inviting your trust is the ISBL network starts to grow, and ISBL is then, when you are as a trust and you're going through growing pains, or you're having kind of questions or queries, or want some experience or advice or perspective, this kind of larger network will be there that ISBL will basically tap you into and facilitate those discussions, making sure there's an element of kind of quality assurance within that,
100%.
Meaning that you're getting, like you said, no truisms. You're getting solid advice that you can basically build upon. Perfect. Karen, I'm going to come to you because and again, thank you so much for coming on today. And being the first one as well, it's always quite a little bit daunting. And I know sometimes a lot of people haven't used this platform, so it's great, and you've been super, super nice. So thank you.
You're saying that's unusual for me, Ryan.
Well, I'm going to see you tomorrow at the Able Regional Conference. So yeah, if you trip me up, so I'm walking around, so I'll know I didn't do a good job today. So, as a executive business manager, this is a new thing, so this isn't available. This is only now just available through the institute, but I don't think there was anything like that as much. I know there's the regional groups, and that was obviously really helpful, but do you think this kind of trust offer from the institute how do you think it would have been really helpful within the trust you were in?
So obviously we were quite a large size trust. I still have a lot of work with them at the moment, and there's 14 schools, and we can talk about money and how much it costs to join a networking group, and obviously we know the economic climate. So having this offer on, for everybody to be able to access the various things that are in the trust offer. In particular, I'd like to head off the networking side of things. To me, after 30 odd years in education, I don't think I would have got where I got to if it wasn't for the networking groups and the support and the collaboration of colleagues. So I think, ISBL and ABLE, who is our Nottingham East Midlands regional group, working together, as we've given them some added benefits to be able to join ISBL as a pilot through that particular group. One of the things we found, and I'm sure Stephen will agree with me here, that pre and post pandemic, mainly around the academies sector, we did lose quite a lot of membership because of the spring in new roles. So the COOs, the CFOs, the heads of departments, maybe because they're linking into their own areas, into their professional areas, more than they are into a global network group for education. I find that there's not as much engagement from that particular level on that particular role, those particular roles. But I can't say how important it is for people in those roles to actually get at the forefront, not only with the support that ISBL gives you, but to have your voice heard in the developments in education, to be able to confer with Stephen and his team in terms of future developments. They have, an inroad into government, and you need to be at the forefront of everything. And when you're in those particular roles, so by using regional groups, by using ISBL, you can be at that forefront. And we all need to broaden our knowledge into other areas of school business professionals' work. And going back to what you said about being able to tap into expertise from each other, we have an app in our ABLE group where you can actually do that through an online app. If you've got something big to do, you've got a Salix bid to write, we've got people who can help with that. If you've got a new roof that needs putting on, we've got people that are expertise in that. But it's about making sure that collaboration, that networking is at the forefront of what you do, because whilst people will say, I haven't got time to go out, I haven't got time to do this, I haven't got time to get involved with these things, to me, you can't afford not to. You can't afford to spend that time not getting at the forefront of everything in the education profession.
And I think it's like, there isn't, it seems crazy to me that you could only belong to one group. And I think what you mentioned is the sector is kind of, it's gone, broad and tall, really. We've got everything from administrative to executive director level, from generalist to specialist. And there is this kind of big kind of group or body, in between. And I think there's obviously value in finance director forums. There's value in,
of course,
in kind of network manager forums, and something that's very dedicated to your subject matter. But I think understanding, and it's interesting, Stephen and I have had conversations about this in the past, joining a network of people that lead school business and everything that's around school business as a whole has, that is able to give you that diversity, that perspective. And, and there's a lot of research now that says, diversity and perspective and, in your thinking and part of your team and access to people is really important. So you don't end up in this echo chamber, siloed, kind of just hearing one thing kind of parroted back at you. So I think there's definitely a lot of that. And I suppose and again, your experience as a trust business manager, 14 schools, are they, were they still, do they still have school business managers? Did some of the titles change, you know?
Yeah, I mean, we've gone through a range of different structures over the years in our trust. Mainly, I think you've got to be in a school and live and breathe it. And I've talked to business managers in the past that have gone through academisation with a big organisation and been absolutely petrified of what's going to come and how they're going to manage that. Have they got the skills to do what they want them to do? And I think we need to be able to reassure those individuals that there's a lot of people in the same boat, that we've probably all been there. We can offer support, advice. You know, I've been in academisation since 2011, and it changes all of the time. So if you're not at the forefront of those changes and that bureaucracy that comes with education,
yeah,
then you're going to be left behind. You really are going to be left behind. And I think ISBL regional groups are going to be at the forefront of, you know, the future, really. I've learned so much just by sitting with somebody over lunch sometimes than I have sort of in any training session, in any, you know, you were saying about people being isolated in their role. You can also become isolated in a multi-academy trust as well. So a multi-academy trust can be quite insular when they come and take over an organisation or individual schools. What I'd be looking for from, if I was going out now to look at a career in school business professional, I'd be looking at what are they doing outside of their multi-academy trust? How are they developing education and business for the future? What are they involved with outside? Are they making a mark? Are they offering advice and guidance to people? Yeah, and I think the trust offer, if I was still in the trust now, I would definitely be taking that up, because obviously, as Stephen said, it's not the full kit and caboodle of the business membership, but it gives you what you need to do to make sure your trust employees in this area are actually kept up to date. They can communicate with each other in a better way. They know what's happening at the forefront. There's consultation opportunities. I think it's just so important that we need to sort of
Stephen,
get on board with this.
I'm just going to go to Karen one more question, if I can, and Stephen, I'll come back to you. So, Karen, you pressed on it there. It isn't the full offer. So, can you just tell me why you're going to keep your ISBL membership? As a that piece, and what is the value add? I mean, obviously, you can't access the trust offer without it, but why are you still going to remain a full-fledged member of the Institute?
Well, there's a few reasons for me. Obviously, I'm a chair of a director of a regional group. So obviously affiliation to the group and the support and collaboration we have there is second to none. Also being able to go to the conference, there's some savings that can be made through there, and some of the training that's been on offer. We have opportunity. There's other opportunities within the full offer that can sort of add that added benefit to what the trust offer is. And we run 3 conferences a year, plus I go to the network conference for ISBL and the regional conferences. We've just started to collaborate on those, and to me that can be more important than just looking at things or reading things online. To me, it is about the networking, getting to know who you can turn to if you need support and advice.
Stephen, you would jump in there.
I just wanted to come in behind what Karen was saying. So I think it's really important that we emphasise the value of the connectedness, and that's what this trust offer is really about. And to an extent, we have limited our engagement activity to our own community. But actually, and I've talked about this for years. I mean, Karen knows that I bang this drum all the time. Joined up leadership, pedagogy, business, and governance, talking seamlessly together, and actually only works if those three pillars are operating in harmony. And that this trust offer kind of unlocks that ability to talk across activity strands, across specialisms, pedagogical leaders and business leaders and governors and trustees having a conversation.
It's so important, it really is, because if you get in a team meeting in an organisation and somebody's talking about something, you have no clue what they're talking about, but actually it's around the actual organisation leadership. You can have technical professionals, but that doesn't mean to say that they've had that experience of professional leadership across an organisation, which cuts across a lot of different areas.
And that links to the second point I was going to make, and that is, I think again, what this offer is going to achieve is very quickly getting whoever within the trust in front of someone who really knows. And I say really knows because it's back to that truism versus validated, reliable information. But there's another element to that, and that is that can give you information, provide you with information and a perspective, being absolutely sensitive to your own position. So as Karen says, advice sometimes is delivered in a way that's super overwhelming, and you feel lost and isolated and possibly a bit of an imposter. If a big external consultant organisation comes in with all of this overwhelming advice, sometimes it can be a little bit daunting. And what we're about really is connecting people with people who understand, that have walked the walk, that have been frontline practitioners themselves. Not always. I mean, sometimes we bring in experts who haven't operated as school business professionals, but intimately understand the space. But what we can say is that everybody that we use within this offer are absolutely invested in the needs of schools, and in particular, the very tricky role that school business professionals play. So I think there's a piece around connectedness, there's a piece around sensitivity to the person that's seeking the advice, and then there's the validation of that advice. That I think that combination is super important.
Super. Right. I'm going to keep to time. I'm going to press. So Karen, quick, final words from you. If there's somebody on watching today, or they're watching through LinkedIn or Twitter, and they're thinking about the trust offer, what would you say to them?
I would say definitely go for it. Get your whole team on board. You need to get your whole team on board. You're only ever as good as your team. So I think making sure that you're all talking from the same hymn sheet, that you've been able to access the support and advice and the collaborative work that ISBL do, and particularly with their regional groups. We need to make sure that guidance and advice is available to as many people as possible, because for the best will in the world, if you've got loads of people coming to you saying, well, can you just tell me what's happening with this? What's at the forefront of finance? What's at the forefront of procurement? They can go and look for themselves. They'll have that resource to be able to go and look that out for themselves, and obviously see what's going on across the country. It's not just about the regional area. It's about, what is ISBL doing to support everybody in this profession, to make sure that, the government know how we feel, the ones that are on the coalface. That is, and you need to get your voice heard as well. And that's what ISBL does for you as well. It makes sure that our voices are heard in the right places.
Brilliant. And Stephen, just a quick question from you in the Q&A. Francis Rowland wants to know how ISBL support regional groups, and how this will kind of link into the trust offer, might link into that as well.
I mean, it's a really important question, and again, I think the most important thing that we can do is to be more connected. And the regional groups, so we've got 47 affiliated regional groups. I think there are something like 66 formal groups in the country, and it's great if we could get the other 20, but we've got the lion's share. And we meet with those regional group leaders on a monthly basis. What I think is really important. So I did say at the start that we're not a union. We're not lobbying for a particular policy outcome. But what we do, and I think we do well, and this is where the regions are so important, is we provide that conduit between policy and practice. So proposals come to us, we share them with colleagues and allow them to critique. We take that critique back to government, and so there's this flow, if you like, of information, and we sit in the middle of passing the concerns that are being raised at the front line to government, and we also put proposals that are being worked up by government in front of colleagues so that they can have offer sensible critique. And quite a lot of that work happens fairly invisibly, and maybe we don't shout about it enough, but there are numerous things, quite significant things, that I believe as an institute we've influenced that have helped the sector, particularly when it comes to administrative burdens and some of the regulation and assurance. I mean, we're very close to the Academy Trust Handbook since its creation in 2010. So yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, so key takeaways from today that I've picked up are, first of all, if you're not an ISBL member, you need to be an ISBL member. Secondly, if you are an ISBL member, then think about the trust offer as a way of getting your colleagues access to this kind of network of resources and expertise and skills and experience that will be cross-channel. Like you said, that triumvirate of kind of school business, kind of pedagogy and governance. The greater the network, the more perspective that will come into this. And you'll be obviously supporting the institute, which is taking a lot of the kind of thoughts, feedback, demands, requests, up to Westminster and trying to, push those onto the powers that be to kind of make a difference to our kind of schools and education provision.
And going back to the regional groups, Ryan, as well, I mean, Stephen often comes to our regional groups. I know he makes appearances along some of his other ISBL colleagues at regional groups. So, come along and see what's happening tomorrow. I mean, there's quite a few coming tomorrow, isn't there, Stephen? We're joining forces for the ABLE conference and the East Midlands Regional Conference for ISBL. So it's great to be able to do things together.
Well, I, for one, will definitely be there tomorrow. So you can, I will see you at the coffee table, definitely during the break sessions. Both of you, thank you very much, for really coming today. Stephen, any final words?
Just give it a go. I mean, to colleagues that are out there thinking about whether this is going to add value to their particular organisation, give us a chance. We won't let you down. Is the message I would give out.
Super. Thank you very much to today's audience for coming. Thank you very much for the questions in the chat. Really appreciate it. If you did value this session, if you think actually some of your colleagues should hear it, who are school business professionals or who lead school business, all you have to do, same registration link, you registered, just share with them, share in your regional groups, tell them to check it out. They can watch the replay from today's session. So that'll be made available. If there's anything you missed and you want to watch, you can watch the replay again from today's session. There's a link below for the trust membership details. You can click off to that and make sure you subscribe to this channel, because we've got another kind of ISBL, the Talking Head session number 2 coming up, where we'll be talking about schools, Mark. And then we've got number 3 coming up as well, where we'll be talking about ICFP and ASOT, the ASOT tool that's been developed. And we've got a whole number of these coming up and available. So if you don't want to miss one, even if you can't make the live events, subscribe anyway. You'll always be able to watch the replays. And like I said, if it's got real value, make sure you share it with your colleagues, your regional networks, and get them to sign up too. So my name's Ryan Green. I've been your host for today. We've got Stephen Morales and Karen Bonser. Thank you so much, both. Have a lovely day.
Thank you. Bye.